Much love. Open the door, let me in. You don't feel me? I continue to knock. But every time I knock, my knock will get harder and harder. I don't even know if you heard me. Much love, much love. Open door, let me in. You feel me knocking? Let me in. If you don't hear me, I continue to knock. But every time I knock, I'm gonna knock harder and harder. You gonna see me. Come open this door.
Just imagine the perfect small business.
No matter where you go on this planet, you're likely to find our people in a state of lack, confusion, and misery. Though truthfully, we are a people of extraordinary promise, of exponential power, and of unimaginable potential. So many of us have intelligence. So many of us have ingenuity. So many of us have talents. Yet these traits have not been enough to repair our broken condition. We simply lack truth. We have only a reflection of the truth and not the real thing. The truth you seek is within you. You just need the keys to unlock the secrets laying dormant inside. We have those keys. This is Amexem.
Yeah, been looking up stuff, man, trying to check stuff out. So, that was their first video.
More implicit bias, culturally imposed, a lot more mind bugs. If you ask an Asian person, are they yellow or are they brown? Would the person say to you, "Oh, well, yes, I am yellow"? Or would they say, "Well, what do you mean?" Say, "Oh, you mean, well, yeah." The average Asian, I would venture to say, average Chinese, average Japanese or Korean would probably say, "I'm Asian," or "I'm from Korea," or "I'm from Japan," or "I'm from China," or Vietnam, or whatever. They would not use the term yellow. I'm still trying to figure out why so many of our people are so hell-bent on using the term black, given to us by Europeans, even though people will say, "Yeah, but it was meant to be negative." So you're going to make a negative into a positive. So by that logic, let's do that with everything. So by that logic, let's do that with everything. So let's make the word idiot mean genius. In other words, I'm trying to figure out what is the benefit of that. It is their language in that it has a lot more implicit bias, culturally imposed, a lot more mind bugs. And again, it's not what our ancestors would have called themselves in their own language. This is what I'm, especially for those who are arguing that they're being Africa-centered or Afrocentric. If we're being Africa-centered, use a term that has its roots in Africa, not the term black that was given to us by Europeans at a period in their history where they're ascending and using it to devalue us. I'm completely at a loss for that. So when I think about when Malcolm, one of our heroes, one of our saints, if you will, said, if a cat has kittens in an oven, are they biscuits? So when people will tell me, well, they're not African because they live in America or the United States, this democratic republic. And I say, well, you are still of African ancestry. And coming from a strict, if you will, Africa-centered view, especially in, one of my professors and one of my mentors is Dr. Molefi Asante and the whole foundation of Afrocentricity, etc., right? And clearly he was trying to get us as students, he said, to recognize that we are of African ancestry, we are Africans.
See, I ain't gonna just let people just, tell me about content. What I'm trying to do is build people up. If you don't look at yourself differently after these conversations that we need to have, we need to sit down and talk. We need to sit down and talk. We need to know exactly who we is, where we come from.
Even if we're not on the continent. That's the attitude you have to have, that you're part of the diaspora. Now, it doesn't mean you're identical to a sister or brother who's Nigerian. It doesn't mean you're identical to a sister or brother who's from Kenya or Togo or whatever part of the African continent. Don't get me wrong. I embrace it. I used to tell my students when I first started teaching, they would make fun of some students who were darker in hue. And I used to tell my students, I wish I was that complexion. And the students look at me going, wait a minute, why would you want to look like this person who's so black, so dark? And I said, because I know who they are, because I know their value. The problem is you don't. And they're looking to me as a young teacher and going, well, wait a minute now, this young teacher, why would he want to affirm that?
Know your value. Know what you're worth. Are you worth being a co-host? Are you worth being a sidekick? Are you ready to step up to the playground? Swing, batter. You better make a home run when you swing. Don't swing for me. I hit hard. I don't even be talking about you. I want mine to grow up. I want mine to stand up. I want mine to sit down at the throne. I want mine to wear that crown.
Right? So clearly my aversion was not to saying I'm of African ancestry or that I have an aversion to being dark in complexion. My aversion is to the word black. It's not, I don't have a problem with somebody saying, well, man, you ain't nothing but you're African in America. My father, who was born in Cuba, identified himself as an Afro-Cuban. My father, who was a little slightly darker than I in hue, emphasized his pride in his African roots, his African ancestry. And my grandmother, who was darker in complexion as well, of a darker olive hue. So what I'm saying is, there's no problem with hue. It's not a problem with it's not about complexion. And it damn sure isn't about me thinking we have no history. Because needless to say, I could easily dispense with the average person talking about their knowledge of African history who makes the same argument. What I'm saying is someone who's telling you, well, you're negating your being, negating yourself. That's self-hatred. And then I say, well, wait a minute. I don't hate the fact that I'm descendant of the ancient Kemites. I'm not hating the fact that my ancestry is connected to the people within the Moorish Empire or ancient Carthage or the peoples of Mali or the ancient Congo or Angola. I said,
go find that man. That's what I'm saying. Go find that man. That's what I'm saying. He do a lot of good stuff. Y'all want to know where to be at? Y'all want to learn something? Y'all want to become somebody? Start standing up, dusting your shoes off, putting your hat on right. Rock them shades if you'll rock them shades. Stand your ground law. You know. Chips and dip. I like Doritos. But you know, that's me. Get your own chips though. Rise up. That's all I've said. Get what you want. Quit letting people give you something. Go get your own. Oh yeah, I gotta get to him too. What's up, PMP? Trying to talk right, you know. Is it shooting if nobody get hit? You know what I mean? If I shoot into the dark and don't nobody get hit, did I shoot? They call it clickbait. That's all I can say about it. Could you hear? I don't know. I don't even know. That's where I stop at though. Much love to everybody came through. I hope we on. Oh, hold on. No, we need to go check your ding. Yeah. What's his name? Man, who last one was over here? Who was the last one was over here? I don't know.
One of the sweetest moments of my career was hitting a game winner in Game 3 in the WNBA Finals in 2015, and looking back on that win, it was so satisfying knowing that the work I did beforehand, doing that move time and time again, prepared me for that moment. So when it was time to step up and be counted, I was ready. So I just really look back to how important it is to...
Skip step, I'm skipping. But I was coming to the standing as black people, you know what I mean? Being one with yourself, man, knowing who you are. That's what I came here for. Can y'all even hear? I don't know if y'all can hear that. No, I'm about to listen.
This film is strictly for educational purposes only. OCO, my brothers and sisters, relatives, spiritual warriors, and free thinkers, I want to begin this segment with a question. What does your favorite actor or actress in the news media, along with American history, all have in common? Throughout this segment, I will be answering this question. And for starters, the news media consists of journalists who would then perform an act by reading from a written script live on camera. With this in mind, we can determine that this task is closely related to the duties of an actor or actress of a movie per se, all the way down to the individual being addressed by their stage name, disguised as their real name. This is why you will find popular news reporters making special guest appearances in
It's too loud, PMP? I put on my Bluetooth. I'm just checking his history out. You know, that's all I'm on today. Laying back. Showing people where my mind be at. I don't be up on that beef stuff, you know, all day.
his films, usually playing the role of a news anchor or maybe a meteorologist. This is also why various news channels would sequentially allow for their anchors to report, or rather repeat, the exact same information about the exact same topics verbatim.
I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS4 News produces.
But we are
plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of their platforms push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, what does this have in common with American history? In today's society, much of the information that has been presented throughout compulsory educational institutions have been written, reviewed, and then approved solely by the government to be deemed as facts uncritically, meaning no matter if the information presented is right or wrong. And it gets a lot deeper, because that means that someone not only controls what you know about history in general, but it also means that information about, let's say, the history of the United States, for example, will differ when it comes to what is known about the U.S. and other countries throughout different parts of the world. In fact, during the year of 1948, at a time where the idea of the out-of-Africa theory was currently in development for deployment in compulsory education, the United States Information and Educational Exchange Act was passed and made law by Congress on January 27, 1948. Under Title I, Section 2, it covers the objectives of this act, or H.R. 3342, by stating that, quote, "The Congress hereby declares that the objectives of this act are to enable the government of the United States to promote a better understanding of the United States and other countries, and to increase mutual understanding between the people of the United States and the people of other countries. Among the means to be used in achieving these objectives are 1. an information service to disseminate abroad information about the United States, its people, and policies promulgated by the Congress, the President, the Secretary of State, and other responsible officials of government having to do with matters affecting foreign affairs. What's very interesting to point out is that the word disseminate was used here, which means to spread or give out something, especially news, information, ideas, etc., to a lot of people, or to propagate. And then it goes on with number 2, stating that an educational exchange service to cooperate with other nations in A, the interchange of persons, knowledge, and skills, B, the rendering of technical and other services, C, the interchange of developments in the field of education, the arts, and science, end quote. And then under Title II, Section 201, it details what this act means by the interchange of persons, knowledge, and skills, by stating, quote, the Secretary is authorized to provide for interchanges on a reciprocal basis between the United States and other countries of students, trainees, teachers, guest instructors, professors, and leaders in the field of specialized knowledge or skill, and shall wherever possible provide these interchanges by using the services of existing reputable agencies, which are successfully engaged in such activity. The Secretary may provide for orientation courses and other appropriated services for such persons from other countries upon their arrival in the United States, and for such persons going to other countries from the United States. When any country fails or refuses to cooperate in such program on a basis of reciprocity, the Secretary shall terminate or limit such program with respect to such country to the extent he deems to be advisable in the interests of the United States, end quote. The term reciprocity is the practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit, especially privileges granted by one country or organization to another. So in other words, this act details exactly who controls all generalized information domestically and internationally, and it also verifies that the information given to us throughout American school curriculums have been manipulated to the point where people can only subscribe to the information that we were taught by instructors or teachers that the U.S. government has hired in order to propagate this specified information to the public, without any room for questioning its accuracy or validity. Because under Title V, Section 501, it covers the general authorization of disseminating information about the United States abroad by stating that, quote, the Secretary is authorized, when he finds it appropriate, to provide for the preparation and dissemination abroad of information about the United States, its people, and its policies through press, publications, radio, motion pictures, and other information media, and through information centers and instructors abroad. Now, what's very important to note here is that this very act has been updated exactly 64 years later on May 10th, 2012. It is now known as the Smith-Mont Modernization Act of 2012, or H.R. 5736. And this very section, 501, now reads, the Secretary and the Broadcasting Board of Governors are authorized to use funds appropriated or otherwise made available for public diplomacy information programs to provide for the preparation, dissemination, and use of information intended for foreign audiences abroad about the United States, its people, and its policies through press, publications, radio, motion pictures, the internet, and other information media, including social media and through information centers, instructors, and other direct or indirect means of communication. So, this is an act of scattering and propagating misleading information like a seed for growth and permanence. They have now covered all bases.
Yeah, much love to everybody that came in, you know. I'm sorry if you got baited in. But you know the deal. Trying to get people to a rise. Let's rise. Ain't no waiting.
Log on to patreon.com/Dane Calloway or paypal.me/Dane Calloway to support me, my channel, my content. Merchandise is now available at I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com. OCO, my brothers and sisters, relatives, free thinkers, and spiritual warriors. Today, let's begin this segment with asking some very essential questions pertaining to this topic at hand. First, did the origins of the said last names, or rather surnames, of so-called slaves in America derive from some form of European ancestry? And if you answered yes, then what hard evidence exists today that not only supports this heavily campaigned theory, but can also confirm that it is in fact the truth indefinitely? Now, I understand that some of you would normally consider traditional information given to you to be a fact, without noticing that you just inadvertently allowed someone's opinion to be considered valuable as a source of creditable information, in your opinion. However, a person's opinion does not mean, nor should it be automatically constituted as the truth, especially when it lacks publicly verifiable evidence to prove it. I mean, think about it. Could it be possible that certain pieces of verifiable evidence that many people are looking for today, much of it has been rewritten, altered, photoshopped, hidden, or even altogether misconstrued? Like, for example, things that were said to have been done on a particular date have been changed to reflect as other dates, allegedly due to the insertion of the Gregorian calendar. I mean, even words that you may recall its meaning today have literally changed in definition and in spelling several times over, along with the names of particular people and said locations. And even what was originally deemed as a prediction is now somehow considered a historical fact by various so-called professionals. So, finding the truth would be very complex, especially when an individual limits themselves to thinking inside of the box versus allowing themselves to experience a physical freedom in which you would not need to be deceased in order to qualify to reap its many benevolent benefits. As Western European entities established what we know now as American history, they also created a tale informing us as Americans that the use of last names, or rather surnames, derived from, quote, the need to find ways to differentiate between two people who shared the same first name, end quote. Which seems harmless at first and quite obvious, of course, if you're not conducting an investigation into the reason why the National Endowment for the Humanities, established on September 29, 1965, goes on to state, quote, because the British were among the first Europeans to settle in North America, many modern American surnames can be traced back to medieval England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, end quote. Now, This statement forces the reader to believe that since foreigners of European descent immigrated to North America some 240 years ago, that they somehow influenced millions of people already residing in North America prior to their arrival to take on European surnames over the years, without telling you exactly how it was pulled off. Which should make you ask the question, if the so-called Negro slaves of America, who were realistically undervalued agricultural employees, were treated as less of a human being and more like human cargo for sale, then what would make the said owner or employer want to attach their so-called European surname to that individual when it was not federally mandated to do so? Now, there are theories floating around stating that the slave masters marked their human property.
Now you see, you don't have to be no slave. You get out here and work for yourself. You get out here and do it. Let's get that in your mind. Let's start thinking about what we need to be doing. Not dividing each other and breaking each other down on whatever you're doing or whatever's going on in your life. And people was out getting hung in the streets. Houses getting burnt down. Kids getting, stuff still happens. You know what I mean? So, let's try making a change for the better.
By using their surname upon them. However, if that was actually true, then the surname Underwood, for example, would somehow have a European background, right? But the truth is, it does not. And that also means that every surname in America does not have a European background. But let's go a little bit deeper now, shall we? According to the National Endowment for Humanity Society, quote, during the Middle Ages, the feudal system meant that most people in Europe lived in small farming villages. As the population expanded and the towns grew, however, a need arose to find ways to differentiate between two people who shared the same first name, end quote. Now, I can agree with this statement, and I can also add that the so-called feudal system realistically occurred everywhere human life existed. Everyone's population grew, right? So, you can't tell me that since Europe's population grew, that they somehow were the first to create surnames without confirming evidence that surnames or the use of surnames never existed anywhere else before. That's just critical thinking.
If I don't knock you out when we knuckle up, then the razor come out. When I swing it, you get your uppercut. I grab you by your neck, you get another cut and another cut. It look like the seatbelt won't work and I'm trying to buckle up.
Boy. URL Battle Rap is now live on CameraFi.
Now, throughout my years of investigative research, I noticed a common pattern that authors of American history loves to use. There are tons of storytelling in American history, but with very little evidence to support and prove that the said stories are in fact true in most cases. So, when was the first last name or surname ever used in history? Now, the answer to this question is so complex that there is no definitive answer. However, some of you who agrees with sociology with an added mixture of mythology would immediately give the credit of surnames to the Chinese, strictly based on yet another story. As the myth, legend, or folktale goes, the Chinese have been using surnames since 2800 BC by way of royal order from the reigning Chinese emperor of their time named Fuxi. It was said that Fuxi created and mandated a naming system in order to control census taking and census information. But since this story, along with the Emperor Fuxi story, is a myth, there is no hard evidence to support this claim or theory in this sense. The reason why it is so complex to track down and determine beyond a reasonable doubt where these last names, family names, or surnames originated from is because of the various types of surnames used all across the world. It would strictly depend on the individual. and where they come from, due to multiple practices of the use of surnames varies from culture to culture. This means that it will be impossible to determine that you bear a quote European surname, because the practice of having a first name and a middle name and a last name as a mandatory rule realistically has no significant evidence to support where and when exactly it originated. Even the Indians of all of the Americas, for example, bear 2 to 5 names as an individual's full name without orchestrating it in a commonly known first name, middle name, and last name format, or so we think. Mind you, there are 4 common categories of surnames that were used throughout the history of North America and many other parts of the world as well. There are locative surnames, patronymic surnames, occupational surnames, and nickname surnames. To break each of them down, a locative surname identifies an individual based upon where he or she was born, raised, lived, worked, or the land they own, which makes this surname not qualified for consideration of being of European origin. For example, Charles Darwin was probably a descendant of a family that previously lived in the market town called Darwin, which is located in Lancashire, England. Or let's take the actor Lawrence Fishburne, for example, in which the surname Fishburne could indicate that Lawrence's ancestors worked as cooks that specializes in seafood cuisine, or just simply frying fish. Another example of a locative surname could also be referring to a particular geographical identifier, in which most cases is self-explanatory, like for example, the actor Blair Underwood, in which the surname Underwood could be an indicator that refers to a family who resides near or throughout the woods. Or it could also mean that his ancestors owned acres of lands, particularly within the woods. No European origin yet. Now,
Take a few minutes and share the quarantine with Ed.
a patronymic surname identifies an individual as their father's child or their father's children. However, it is very important to note that this surname does not translate to a fixed family surname, in which this also means that it does not qualify to be considered as a surname of any European origin. Like for example, take pro NFL running back Adrian Peterson. The surname Peterson could indicate that Adrian is the son of Peter, which would equate to being Adrian, Peter's son. Or in some cases it would read as Peter's son Adrian, or in modern times, Adrian Peterson, by dropping one letter S. Other examples of patronymic surnames would be Jackson, Williamson, Richardson, Robinson, Wilson, Jefferson, Johnson, Woodson, or any other said surname ending with the suffix son. Now, in most cases, you would discover that the vowels of the said letters would change as well, like the surname Steelman would later be spelled as Steelman, with two letter E's in the word steel, and the letter A replaces the letter E in the word man, but it keeps its original pronunciation. Still not finding any European origin yet. So now, occupational or status surnames identifies an individual based upon their social status or their occupations. Some of you can recall noticing many occupational surnames throughout multiple different languages, almost as if it was a common practice for many countries across the world over the years. This also means that these types of surnames do not originate from just one large landmass to another. However, it does indicate that some cultures of particular countries shared some similarities, but that does not mean that one copied the other or one started that tradition before the other. No. Haven't you ever heard the saying, great minds think alike? Now, don't get me wrong here. There are tons of traditional methods of particular people's cultures, languages, identities, and more that were either copied, adopted, erased, or even stolen for that matter. But that's not the point here. The point is, when you are researching your family's genealogy by records, that does in fact exist. In most cases, you will discover that you do not have any form of European ancestry, as long as you are referring to actual physical historical genealogy records of your family, and not some mysterious genealogy DNA ancestry test that disclaims that it is just for entertainment purposes only. Let's take the name James Farmer, for example, as an occupational surname. This would indicate that he is the James of the farmers, or he could just simply be a farmer named James. Other examples would be Smith, Butler, Wheeler, Booker, Turner, Cooker, Taylor, or Baker, just to name a few. And logically speaking, you cannot determine that their origins are from some random place in Europe without first determining what common language was used in order for foreigners to communicate with our ancestors here in the Americas upon their arrival. Which should make you ask the question, was there ever a common language to begin with? How did foreigners communicate with other foreigners without a translator? How did ship owners in America allegedly sail all the way to West Africa in hopes of purchasing human cargo without some form of common language to use to communicate with? Now, a nickname surname identifies an individual based upon commonly known attributes or adjectives that will best describe that person in some way. It could be based on the actor Morgan names instead of nickname traditionally. Like a traditional Christian nickname can be identified often by two given nicknames, or rather four names, instead of one at the time of baptism, like Mary Ann or Anne Mary, for example. The actor Morgan Freeman also bears a religious nickname surname as well, due to the many so-called black people who refused to change their surnames before and even after the Emancipation Proclamation was established. When you are conducting genealogy research on your families, meaning a paper trail, you will soon discover that many of our ancestors did in fact use their own created surname that was royally different from the surname that was allegedly given to them by their employers at the time of signing their indentures, or rather labor contracts, now known as applications of employment. Our ancestors manifested independence and freedom by rejecting foreign surnames to be a part of their family's lineage, especially at the time of the Emancipation Proclamation. Keep in mind that many of the surnames of our ancestors had to be written into a record. This changes everything that you were ever told of when it comes to so-called American descendants of slavery. This is why it is very essential to check the records of your family's genealogy before you go out and state to the public that your family bears a European surname, when you have absolutely no idea that you could be inadvertently disrespecting your very own people that fought for your freedom and to build this country.
Much love, everybody, man. See, now I see in the chat that people, see, I got down like this too, to where I might have to come up with y'all come to my panel? Y'all come to my panel if I start me a conversation about, what is that, copycat fish. Copycat fish. Am I the only person to see these copycat fishes? They want to be me so much, they go out and take my picture and make a whole nother profile? Yeah, much love, PMP. I think I might start me a panel. Copycat fish. That might be my next panel. See how they feel about that. My name is out in the streets, you know. Max Tyree, much love. I just came here to push the idea, open your mind, try to get everybody to dust their shoes off. We need to start standing like we need to stand, like we supposed to be understood. We need to come together better than what we coming together. We don't need to come together to see nobody beating each other up, tearing each other down, setting stuff on fire. Nah. We need to come together and stand like everybody else is standing. Mexicans stand up. Caucasian people stand up. Asian people stand up. All we want to do is stand up for what? Just because somebody fighting? Nah, I want to stand to get rich. Yeah, I believe I know who it is too. But it could be one of three people for real. But we'll talk about that on the next. Yeah, it could be named Ditto. What about these Dittos? These copycats. Yeah, I need to make up a panel, man, and come up with some good jokes for them, the fakeries. You hear me? The fakeries. They baking people like me, so I know I'm booming. Yeah, somebody else in another chat told me that people is copying people's profiles. Sweet Pea, I don't even know if that's you. It sounds like Sweet Pea. Yep. That's why I'm trying to stay on this positive stuff. That's why I always try to push much love with a 3. If you don't see the 3, it ain't me. I don't play around. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing me a panel, man. That's be a good one. Copycat fishing. Yeah, I can tell the way she typing. But then I seen that Yee at the back. I was like, I don't know. Y'all usually mess with DNK. I don't know. Or Callaway. I don't know what they. I can't wait till you do one about this COVID-19 attacking mostly black people. And, you know what I mean? My community ain't sitting down and talking about this and like what type of moves we need to make. Like, they releasing people out of jail, but we ain't even trying to fight for like elderly people to get out of jail. We ain't trying to make a move on nothing. Right now, as African Americans, we can stay sitting down and boycott the whole United States until they figure out what's going on. Show them where our money lies. But ain't nobody sitting down trying to talk about this. That ain't beefing. That's trying to know what we worth. You think we about to get out here in these streets, back to work? We built this country first off. Out the sweat of our ancestors, we built this country. You mean to tell me it's killing more of us than anybody, and y'all ain't even trying to. Where's the reparations at? First off, you know our ancestors picked that cotton. You know our people went through them alleyways. We had to cut it in hard. We still cutting it in. We ain't even in yet. Y'all don't even respect us as we dying out here in these streets for the virus, nigga. Ain't no memorials going up for us. You hear me? Y'all don't understand. My reality is really upon some. Man, all these years we've been here, and what? They knock off most of us. They knock most of us off. Ain't nobody sitting down talking about this. But they want to beef with each other. They want to talk about each other's video. They want to dance on stage like like Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy started the conversation like he was about to have this movement. But see, I don't understand why people wasn't ready for my movement before the virus got here. I've been here talking like this. I've been here talking like we need to come together. I've been here trying to come to a reality upon where's our standing ground at? Where's our understanding at? Well, we want to understand what? Fighting each other? What? Doing harm to each other? Yeah, man, I'm a different breed, man. I'm young, but you know what I'm saying? I go back and look at stuff and try to figure out like what type of person do I want to be? Not what type of person do I see out here in these streets or what people trying to make me. I try to get out here and really be something, man. Try to show somebody some love. Just so we can really get love going, you know what I mean? They tear down everything that we touch, man. They tore down Black Wall Street. They didn't. Anyway, man. Be looking for copycat fish. I need people on the panel or in the chat. Share it out, like it up, do something.
We are here to serve you during lunchtime, breakfast, as dinner, and we will deliver to you. I'm here for you, and we can get through this together.
Log on to patreon.com/Dane Calloway or paypal.me/Dane Calloway to support me, my channel, and my content. I demand merchandise is now available at I'mJustHereToMakeYouThink.com. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I just wanted to go over this topic briefly with you guys concerning a lot of information dealing with this topic. It was a hot topic on my Facebook, so I decided to go ahead and create a video about it, and maybe you could give your comments down below and tell me what you think. But it's concerning the Cherokee freedmen. And what happened was on August 30th, a U.S. district judge by the name of Thomas Hogan, he ruled that the Cherokee freedmen can now officially join the Cherokee Nation, which is the second largest tribe in the United States. Now, this lawsuit dates back to the year of 2003, where descendants of the freedmen who were either enslaved by or made as indigent servants of the European and Mongoloid Cherokee Indians, they sued the Cherokee Nation, which is a federally recognized tribe of the, quote, 5 civilized tribes. They sued them over civilization rights. Now, the Cherokee freedmen's argument is surrounding the Treaty of 1866, which was signed between the U.S. government and the Cherokee based in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. Now, the Treaty of 1866 clearly states that all the rights of native Cherokees will be passed along to the tribe's descendants. And that is very important to note here, because they have a strong argument concerning that fact. Now, the federal government granted the descendants of the freedmen their legal right to tribal citizenship after the lawsuit. So that's good news. Now, under the ruling, the Cherokee freedmen gained all the rights the tribal citizens enjoy today. Okay. This also includes the right to run for office, vote in election, and receive benefits, which also includes tribal health care and housing. You know, a lot of them say they don't have this, but they do. Now, in a statement that I'm about to read here, the Cherokee Nation Attorney General Todd Hembry, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. His name is Todd Hembry. He basically said the tribe doesn't plan to appeal the ruling. He stated, quote, "The Cherokee Nation respects the rule of law, and yesterday we began accepting and processing citizenship applications from freedmen descendants." And then he later on stated, "While the U.S. District Court ruled against the Cherokee Nation, I do not see it as a defeat. As the Attorney General, I see this as an opportunity to resolve the freedmen citizenship issue and allow the Cherokee Nation to move beyond this dispute." Now, it's alleged that the ruling directly affects more than 2,800 freedmen at this time. But an attorney for the group, which his name is John Valley, attorney for the group meaning the Cherokee freedmen, he says there are many, or rather more than 25,000 who are now eligible for citizenship. So the judge, Thomas Hogan, wrote in his ruling, quote, "The Cherokee Nation can continue to define itself as it sees fit, but must do so equally and even-handedly with respect to Native Cherokees and the descendants of Cherokee freedmen." Now, the president of the Oklahoma City-based descendants of the freedmen of all of the 5 civilized tribes, her name is Marilyn Van, she basically was like, nobody wants to have their rights stripped away. Okay, so she stated, as a matter of fact, she was a plaintiff in this lawsuit, and she stated, quote, "I think the judge made it clear that the freedmen people have rights just like the rest of the citizens have rights, and we can't be removed at the whim of this chief or that chief." And she continued on to say, "Going forward, I am hoping that the tribe will come together and just be Cherokee people and not freedmen. And maybe we can become the most powerful tribe in the entire country." Now, as of today, there are less than 3,000 freedmen registered with the tribe. Van believes that the total number is closer to around 30,000 due for registering with the tribe. The Cherokees were among the several Native American tribes that owned slaves in the territories they originally inhabited in present-day Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, just to name a few. And in 1838, the U.S. government forced them to relocate to present-day Oklahoma, in which I talked about already in my video called The Trail of Tears. You can actually go back and check it out. I put it in full detail to let you know, yes, we were involved in that as far as copper-colored people. And of course now, the tribal leaders had previously argued that they have the fundamental right to make the decision of who is a Cherokee, okay? They stated that descendants of the freedmen will have to prove they have Native ancestry to be allowed in. Now, a lot of you will probably say that that's difficult to do, but it's really not. They're just trying to make it seem as if it is because they don't, apparently some of them don't want you there. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, if they don't want us there, why do we want to go there? I say it like this. Me, personally, if I were you, I would find out who my family is, period. Because a lot of you were told by your grandmothers or your grandparents that you are, have some lineage to Indian. It never fails. It won't ever fail. But you guys need to check out your backgrounds of your family. Do genealogy on your family. Yeah, and that's really not hard to do at all. It just takes some research. A lot of people would need to do their research on their family to find that out. And while I'm on that topic, it's a lot of people that are relying on these DNA tests or these genealogy DNA tests, rather, not the paternity or the paternal, not the paternal DNA test, the genealogy test. You guys are relying on that, and here we go. I'm just going to state something here. Just put this out here to let you guys know. Those genealogy DNA tests are not welcomed inside of a courtroom at all. Like, they don't accept that paperwork as official documentation of your ancestry. So why would you accept it outside of a courtroom? Okay? Why would you accept that outside of a courtroom? It won't work for you. It doesn't help anything. You just wasted $200. That doesn't solve anything for you guys. What you really need to do is do your own genealogy research on your family's background. Literally go document per document go back. Birth certificates, death certificates. You really need to get, a hold of your family's ancestry by documentation. It was documented. Now, for those of you that have already done that or beginning the process, I do have something that will assist you guys as far as direction is concerned. Go ahead and click the link below where I give the assistance for how to find your native tribe. I think it's down in the description below. That will assist you on directions, so you won't get stuck. Where can you look for this stuff? Because that's mainly what it is. People don't know where to look, or people don't know where to go. Okay, and it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult, especially when you get, maybe a few of your family members involved, or even if you just want to do it for yourself, just to have it. Many of you probably will want to do that and turn around and you are Cherokee. I mean, keep in mind, those numbers are pretty low. They're saying 30,000, but Cherokee was huge before it was called Cherokee. We're not going to go into a history lesson here, but yeah, a lot of you need to know that, and as well as a lot of the.
Yep, and it's like that. What y'all talking about? What y'all talking about? There's some real stuff out here that we need to really know. Like, that's what I'm trying to turn up, man. I don't know. I don't know who built hate in us to where we gotta hate each other so bad. Why we don't love each other so bad? Other people hate us already, right? So why would we add to the confusion? That's bullshit in our lives. We don't need none of that. I'm just keeping it real all the way to the T. Right is right, wrong is wrong. So let's be right. Let's show what right is. Let's show them what wrong is too. Like, we ain't trying to do that wrong. We trying to show you what's right. Much love to everybody, man. Yeah, I love all too. I'm trying to get it in just like everybody else. And I respect people that got their concerts going. I respect everything that's going on. What do we got going on? Can't nobody even give an answer. We're after we heard that mostly black people are getting it. Where's the NCP? Where's the black? What is the people's name? Somebody give me the name. NCP. Somebody. Throw it in the chat, cause I don't understand what we're supposed to. What is going on? This is why I get mad at. We're supposed to have people in the government that's supposed to be fighting for us, and we don't hear nothing about us. All you hear is that, oh, we just found out. No, you should have been found that out. We down at a higher race, y'all. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Where are they at? No disrespect, like I just ain't seen them. You know what I mean? I ain't seen them. How we get brought to a country and basically kidnapped. I'm not saying we was kidnapped. We just put throwing words out here. Basically kidnapped and get over here work for free. And now there's a virus over here that y'all could have stopped from coming over here anyway. But now we about to die. We dying at the highest rate. What the? All the shit we done. Ain't nobody trying to even say, hey, boy, help these niggas out. They created most of this money around here. They picked all that cotton. Most of our businesses started from these people. And they dying at a higher rate? You mean to tell me we can't take care of our investments? Y'all invested in us, right? I swear to God, we worked ourselves out. I swear we did. Y'all balling. Y'all win. They winning. But y'all ain't even looking over the shoulder like, hey, we need to bring them niggas over here. They are down at the higher rate. We need to go ahead and tighten them niggas up. No disrespect on using niggas though. You know what I mean? Tighten people up. Tighten us up. Everybody be tighten up. The hell? They didn't want to act like we crying about something now, boy. We mad about what's owed to us. We could have been got healthy. We could have been we could have been moved around. You feel me? I ain't trying to hate on nobody though. You know, I love the United States, but I know that's what I'm saying. I already know it's an agenda. Once Americans came to the Indians, let's just call them out right here. Once they came to the Indians and then gave them these blankets, they killed them off. They don't even talk about that in schools no more. They didn't even say that word. No. They came to an understanding, and this is how Thanksgiving happened. What? No, y'all need to tell them the rest of the story. What is it? What is y'all missing in this book? Y'all ain't telling them everything. They was killing people off, bro, to get what they wanted, bro. That's what they do. You got to know first off, you got to know who you're dealing with, what they're capable of, and what you're willing to let them do. At the end of the day, you either live for it or you're going to die for it. Or make a change. But don't nobody want to change. Everybody rather stay in where they at. You must love me before I say something, but I ain't got no business. I don't even know how long I was just in there. I hope y'all enjoyed yourselves. I hope y'all enjoyed yourself, man. Trying to get it together the best way I know. I got to build a whole bunch of people up.
The thing that has made the so-called Negro in America fail more so than any other thing is your and my lack of knowledge concerning history. We know less about history than anything else. There are black people in America who have mastered the mathematical sciences, have become professors and experts in physics, are able to talk students out there in the atmosphere, out in space. They're masters in that field. We have black men who have mastered the field of medicine. We have black men who have mastered other fields. But very seldom do we have black men in America who have mastered the knowledge of history of the black man himself.
I ain't gotta come up with a stage name, just say entertainment for the slow and brainless. I ain't gotta come up with some lies about who and why to be rich and black and famous. I'ma tell the truth but nothing but it, even if it's out of my constructed budget. Sinners mad, then I'm winning bad. Get a pin and pad, you gon' like the laughing. I'm a copper-colored individual, descendant of the aboriginals. Warrior be that, believe that, I be that. Why haters look at them pitiful, miserable. They all suffer from the Africa's our home fetish. When that story came for white Jews by the busloads, no Jerome Bettis, you should know better. Research and not taking somebody else's word for it. Fact is, what a fact is opinionated what you heard for us. His story. How the hell you getting millions of Africans and you come back again? Or crossing Atlantic with 20 to man and it ran in immaculate. You ain't fooling me. I can read through you little bum actors. That whole slave trade story was told to us as another fear-mongering tactic. They suppressing your growth, decimating your potential to link, quelling us and rising, telling us about us, how we come about it. Just make you think.
Well, what is the difference between bunch and what is that? The difference is Frank doesn't know his history, and those, the Africans, do know their history. They may come here out of the jungle, but they know their history. They may come here wearing sheep with their head all wrapped up, but they know their history. You and I can come out of Harvard, but we don't know our history. And the basic difference in why we are treated as we are, one knows his history and one doesn't know his history. The American Negro doesn't know his history. The American so-called Negro is a soldier who doesn't know his history. He's a servant in America who doesn't know his history. He's a graduate from Harvard or Columbia or Yale or Howard or Tuskegee who doesn't know his history. And because he doesn't know his history, he's confined. He's limited. He's held under the control and the jurisdiction of the white man who knows more about the history of the Negro than the Negro knows about himself. But when you and I wake up and learn our history, learn the history of our kind, 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 learn the history of our kind. Learn the history of our kind, 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 learn the history of our kind.